Oh yeah, we made it! It's a bicycle.
Finally.
Finally, yeah. In less than 5 months, we put together a lac carbon frame, and yeah, it turned out to be amazing. We've been already riding it last Saturday, and we were super stoked. We're going to show you some footage of the day in the forest by the end of the video. But let's start where it all began last Thursday, after we took the bonded front triangle out of the oven.
It's so good.
Yeah.
What to say?
Actually, yeah, assembly went much smoother than expected. I mean, we were, of course, braced ourselves to expect problems and struggle, but there barely was any issue, right? What was actually really amazing, we put a laser pointer, which we usually do for manufacturing, and it was like as perfect. As it could be. Do you want straight frames? Yes. Like literally everything, center point, button bracket, center point here. And because this one has this huge thread for the paramelon, we could put a pin in and we pointed on the pin and it's just like exactly in line with the pin. So
through all the travel,
everything works amazing. And yeah, we're super hyped on the bearing quality, because there was always a little bit of an inconsistency with the frames. Sometimes we assembled the aluminum frames and we had to press out the bearings again and re-ream the bearing seat to have a perfect tension. And this seems to be all gone, at least it's for the number one. And yeah, we are super excited because this would solve a lot of problems for us internally. And of course, a straighter bike with better bearing quality will be the main benefit for the rider out there, for you. And did we find any problems during assembly, Luca?
Yes, unfortunately.
You are the engineer, you take about the problems, right?
Yeah, oops. Yeah, unfortunately, even if we hopefully hadn't any like major issues, like the bike is riding almost perfectly, but we still have like some little issues that we want to address for the production bike. So where should I start? Okay, the biggest problem for the moment is we have like a little saddle collision. So
yeah, actually, I think you must say that this is a previously illegal setup.
Yeah.
This is the VHP 18, now it's a VHP 20, so it's full DH mode on the rear triangle right now. And it's 29 rear wheel plus 10 droppers, and they were never allowed. But we, of course, wanted to improve that in the new generation. To extend the flexibility, right? So
the funny thing is, like on the model, or also like when we removed the air to test the travel, we hadn't any collision, even though it was like a bit tight. But on the field,
I could still compress it. Interesting, shows just that we brought it absolutely to the absolute limit in our 4 meter, I don't know, it was two kais drop test. So we took a drop just into a compression, and yeah, I mean, you see the video in the end, it was harsh. And what's interesting, I was in the beginning of Caven, so in the like 7 years ago, I was regularly doing kinematic analysis for the bike magazine, and there was always a deviation. What they measured in the lab was always a little bit more rear suspension, rear travel than what I calculated in linkage. And we just came up to the idea that the deformation in the rear triangle happening always adds 3 to 4 millimeter of rear travel that you statically wouldn't measure, but with 200 kilograms on the rear axle, there's so much deformation that a gap of 3-4 millimeter can close and can touch, which you can see on this and these points. So what was our idea to work around this?
Our idea was to slightly rotate the situ with like the value that was the most dominant during our survey.
Yeah, actually the survey suggested to go 0.3 millimeter steeper, and right now that would be the perfect way to solve this, right?
Yeah. So then we could make us happy with a perfectly functional bike and also the customers happy.
Yeah.
So.
More variables, everybody's happy. It should put the seat on a 750 millimeter height above BB, about 10 millimeter more in front. That would give us 5 millimeter more clearance here, and no other problems, no added weight, actually minimum of saved weight, because the top tube gets slightly shorter, but that is negligible. You can forget about it.
Yes, for sure.
Any other problems? I think
what else?
The screws we realize?
Yes, because my first idea was like to put the screws here to then they are like kind of hidden behind the chainring.
Yeah, you can't actually tighten them because they're hidden behind the chainring.
Yeah.
With this chainring you could get lucky, but not with any chainring, and especially if somebody's riding O-chain, which we don't really feel the need on this bike. But if somebody has a power meter or O-chain, you couldn't reach it. So turning them to the other side is a very good trick to do. While we assembled the complete bike, we obviously only had an ugly blue cable because black was out of stock. But we figured a much nicer way to route the cable. We can go in here under the shock mount, which wasn't planned. We were planning to go in here. But as we didn't have the holes prepared in the Freestyle Ghetto tubing, we just opened it here, and it just works really nice and it looks much neater. So we will change this as we go. You can definitely see that it's always important to make an actual sample before you go into production, because it's always something you can improve on the fly. Another little area, this area, right?
Yeah, this area. We found out that, okay, it's the 29 setup, but with the MX setup, the shock is pretty close to the top tube and this lug. So we found out we could like add some millimeter of clearance to be sure that it will fit all the different shocks.
Absolutely. So did we cover everything that was critical on the frame for the moment?
I think that was all.
Then I would say let's take the new bike to the trails. Oh, too heavy. Ah!
Full carbon.
Full carbon. Yeah. Let's go.
Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to feel, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step. I progress no less. Go ahead and place your bet. Cause we know where we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here and stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise, yeah, that is a threat. You know that I promise to bring the team commas. When the whole team win, that's when you flex.
Happy faces.
It was good.
So just say something about it.
Feels like a boat for me, this size.
The size is not yours, but how does it feel to write the thing that you were rendering on the computer for 6 months?
No, that's amazing.
I can imagine.
3, 2, 1.
So we arrived in our local riding spot, actually the spot where I started riding when I was 16, and yeah, it's really absolute low elevation, but I know I know every berm and every little centimeter of the trails there, so we had a really good idea. We took Kai with us. Kai is a downhill rider that started working for us. He studies engineering and he has a V7 in the almost identical geometry, just funny plot twist, where our VHP X has 200 millimeter in the front and 180 in the front, which is a little bit weird, but just happened to be so out of available stock materials. And us not being patient to make something perfect, because we just wanted to rush out on the trail and try it. Obviously, everybody will understand that it was pretty comparable with Kai's bike. Kai's had 190 or 200 on the front and 180 on the rear, both in a downhill angle settings. The Fox 38 in 180 millimeter has 601 millimeter, I think, axle to crown, which is pretty similar to most common downhill forks. Our handlebars in the same position, so very, very comparable bikes. And we did always swap the frame and did some drop tests, actually, really harsh drop tests. But of course, we did some little playing around on the parking lot and some little getting a feel of it. Some throwing it around, some harsh braking on the front can always, of course, introduce a lot of load into the head tube lug.
Yeah, I think when you drop the 4-meter landing on the front wheel, I think was probably the worst case.
That was the worst case you could ever have. But I mean, how did I even have the guts or the confidence? That's where we just made the little steps, but the little steps built up so fast and gave us so much confidence, feeling the bike being just like a little bit more. That is a bad word for it. But it didn't resonate as much as the V7, so it was a little bit more stiffness and maybe a little bit more damping in the resin versus the aluminum. We have to go into that detail, but it felt a little bit more planted overall. So it gave me so much confidence that I was doing things I wasn't usually doing on a bike. But we wanted to bring it to the limit, of course, and it was pretty harsh impact, obviously. So we have a really good feeling about it, and we will go riding a lot more. Probably the next episode will probably be mostly about riding. And then there's going to be another episode about lab testing. Of course, testing on humans isn't going to cut it. Especially we cannot simulate the loads the bike has to take over 5 years.
Yes.
And we go to the University of Applied Sciences in Münster and do some more sample testing. And that should give us all the ingredients to put the first frame and bike together that is hopefully really close to the one that we're gonna release. And our timeline is, our ideal timeline is to release them by mid of May.
Yeah.
But we have to see. I mean, for now, I'm really confident, but EFB is always, always in the good place to make some problems. That's the job. So yeah, see you next episode, and thanks for watching.